Good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island area fishing report for Saturday, September the 27th. Hey, we're joined by our usual crowd. We're going to have Tom, Lee, Gentry, and Tracy checking in on their bodies of water. Things are kind of changing. The temperature's kind of changing. We're getting shorter days. We're actually into the fall season, and these guys are going to help us kind of get started on what we're going to be looking for on these bodies of water. We'll be right back with what the guys have to say. Hey, we're into fall season, even though it don't feel like it quite yet. But we're going to check in with Tom Ott and see what this first full weekend of fall fishing looks like on Lake Guntersville. Tom, I know you and St. Jennifer are out there looking forward to getting on the water. Tell me what's going on.
Well, I tell you, Dano, like we said, this is the time you want to be on Guntersville. If you're not here in the springtime, this is when you want to be there. I mean, the fish are just, they're chasing bait. There's bait everywhere. We got a lot of rain, so we're going to get some color through the system. So that may change things up a little bit, but it's just shaping up for a really good fall time. The rat bite's been incredible. That's really what's been catching the weight, majority of the weight. And a lot of these fish, though, are just roaming around where you can catch them on a square bill, a chatterbait, a spinnerbait. And it's just a matter of just moving around till you find those wads of bait and find some active fish that are in the size range that you want them to be. But I mean, the migration has definitely taken place. I think the deep places are kind of pretty much spent. And, it's just time to get get your waders on and get out there and start catching some fish. I mean, it's a great time, and if you haven't been to Guntersville during the frog season, get out there, because right now is probably one of the best years we're going to see, or that we have seen in the last several.
Okay, so let's talk frog bite for just a minute. Grass all over the main river channels. Starting to see it in some of the other, larger creek channels and stuff. Where do you focus? Do you like the main river stuff, or do you like backwaters?
Absolutely, the backwaters. Typically I like to focus on the milfoil first, and the hydrilla is more so on the river edge. So, later in the year that'll cheese up a little bit more, and you can catch some more fish out there, at least on the edges. Now, that's not to say that you can't catch some fish along the edges, with a buzz bait or some type of top water if you can just get it through that floating grass. But I mean, typically I like the creeks, I like the larger bays, and I'm just looking for those small little cheesy spots. And everybody knows what I'm talking about, those cheesy spots that are coming up. And I'm telling you, it's just, the last few tournaments have really been putting some weight on. And one more thing, and I know there's some forward-facing things out there. People really don't like to do it, but I mean, these youngsters are out there just whacking the big fish, and same deal. They're just chasing bait around. If you're able to do that, good luck. I think you can catch some big fish. If it's not your forte, it's a good time to go out there and learn for sure.
Well, bait is going to be the key to anything, folks. Don't forget the crappie are going to be starting to show up around the causeways and the bridges. And don't forget those striper boils that show up. Tom, brother, we appreciate everything. Tell St. Jennifer we said hi. We love her. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Hey, we've got our man Tracy Robinson joining us. He's actually up at Guntersville today. He's doing a little bit of work getting ready for that Ultimate Angler Challenge, which he's in. But he's been staying in touch with Logan Martin and Lay Lake. He's going to give us the dope from over there. What's going on at Logan Martin?
Yeah, Logan, still catching a lot of numbers over there. I've talked to some of my buddies that are fishing every day over there. They're catching a lot of numbers. The size is eluding them a little bit right now. They're chasing the bait fish in the creeks, top water, rattle traps, anything that you want to throw that mimics a bait fish. You can pick up the spinner baits, the spooks, just about whatever you want to throw. There's a ton of those pound-and-a-half to 2 pound spots chasing bait fish in the creeks right now. So, whatever you really like to throw there. Fish aren't too picky. Something that halfway resembles a shad, they're going to eat it as soon as it hits the water whenever you get in the right areas. But I'd definitely suggest getting into the creeks. There's a little bit going on near the mouths of them, but more so about halfway into the creeks is where most of that activity is going on at. It's transitioning a little bit to fall. So September, it's generally a tough month anyway. So the big fish are kind of elusive right now, hard to get pinpointed down. I know some guys are picking up some top water around the banks and some seawalls in the morning, catching a few fish and occasional quality fish, but it's not really dependable and not consistent bite. On up in the day, we've had some hot days, and we had a little bit of rain this week, so the water got a little bit of color to it. So I would think that if you start heading towards the shallows there in those creeks, following the bait fish, that you're going to have more success doing that than out on those main lake points like we talked about all summer.
Yeah, I know Wendy and myself went over there Monday, just played around a little bit. We were able to get a few bites on shaky heads and stuff like that. But there's a ton of bait everywhere on the lake. So I know I can definitely kind of relate to what you're talking about. All right, let's turn to Lay Lake. What are we seeing out of there? Is the grass bite still going?
Yeah, the grass bite. I mean, it must have happened 12 months out of the year down there because the grass fish, you can still get bit over there. We had some cloud cover this week, had a couple of rainy days there, and the shallow bite stayed pretty good on up into the middle of the day this week. Swim jigs, top water, buzz baits, chugging type, pop-R type stuff around the grass. Again, lots of bait fish at Lay too, just like Logan. It's just not as much of a river; it's more of a lake. So you're not having to really get into the creeks or anything at Lay. You just have to really kind of cruise around until you see the bait balls blowing up, busting up, with some fish chasing them. But that same activity is happening at Lay too. You just kind of got to cruise around till you see them. I can't really say go to Paint Creek or go into whatever creek you want to go there. Not a lot of rhyme or reason where the bait fish are. Some really magnum spots out there on some of those bait balls too. So forward facing sonar, those guys are still catching them doing that as well out on the main lakes with the minnows during the day as well.
Tracy, as always, brother, we appreciate everything. We'll talk to you soon. Hey, we got our good friend Lee Pitts, who's kind of on an off day from some corporate crappie trips. Lee, what's going on at Neely Henry these days, my friend?
Neely's been pretty steady, the last couple of weeks. It's kind of the same type of bite. Still getting a little bit of grass bite down there. You can still kind of flip a jig around it, swim a jig, top water buzzbait bite down that way. And then once the sun gets up, you're looking for some of that thicker grass and even backing out on some of the wood right now. Neely's just kind of been staying steady and getting a mixture of largemouth and spotted bass coming up. You can back off a little bit when the sun gets up, find some of those thicker, covered points coming out, got a little stump or something on it, a little bit of brush, throw a shaky head on it or throw some kind of little creature bait. And you can still catch them down at Neely pretty good right now.
What about the crappie bite? Is that kind of started? Are you still looking at the dock shooting, maybe kind of the deeper docks, or are we starting to see movement?
A little bit of both. The water temperature really hadn't changed that much. Thank goodness this later in the week we got a little bit of rain, get some water moving. I think that's been one of the things. It's so dry. These fish are just really holding tight to that cover out there in that 10, 12, 14-foot water. Some of your deeper docks that they can feel safe under it and get under there with some brush, they've been holding on it. But the crappie bite is moving right now. They're starting to wad up a little bit more. You're seeing more fish on your deeper brush. And I think as it starts to cool down and we get a little bit more rain coming in to get some oxygen in that water, it's going to help that bite.
All right, let's go to Weiss. What's going on there?
The last 2 weeks with Weiss, we're catching numbers, catching a lot of fish, but we're not catching the size fish that we're wanting to catch. A lot of pound and a half, 2 pound, 2 1/4, and it's a mixture of largemouth and spots. I've seen a lot of bait fish moving around out there in the open water. They're starting to kind of get on some of your longer points, harder bottoms, and things like that, where you can run DT6, some kind of little old square bill or just something and just mimic a shad that's scooting through there and catch numbers of fish, but we're just not seeing the size that we need to be catching.
What about the crappie bite? We got about 30 seconds. Are you seeing any movement? White bass?
Yeah, and it's mixing up too. The white bass and the crappie, they're just getting where the bait is. They're holding on some of that brush. Seeing a lot of guys with a forward facing, they're kind of running some of these fish down. But the most of the guys are either starting to get on the docks, shooting the smaller Bobby Garlands, the itty bits, baby shad, something like that, and even getting out there on the deeper stuff, just a vertical drop either with live bait or getting a slab slayer or something like that, and just shake it in front of these fish till they just finally can't stand it and pick it up.
Well, brother, we appreciate everything as always, and we'll talk to you again next week. Hey, we got Gentry Gordy, who's on duty today as an EMT. He's out there helping people on the bus. But we're going to talk a little bit of Lake Martin and Jordan Lake fishing. Gentry, you pick where we starting.
We'll start at Lake Martin, Dano. And it really going to depend on how much rain we get. I'm hoping it's enough where we can kind of, it'll just freshen everything up a little bit, start looking for some of those runoffs. And that goes for Martin and Jordan. That deep dive app I look at a lot. It'll actually show you, where the runoffs come into the lake all over the place. So that's something to look forward to if we get enough rain. But other than that, it's been pretty stagnant on Martin. With the heat coming back, it seems like the top water's laid down a little bit. You really got to find the better fish to me have come on brush piles in that 8 to 12 foot range. But the good thing is you can catch 4 or 5 off of it, if they're sitting on it pretty good. Seems like there's probably some crappie mixed in with them, just looking at it on the live. Because you'll have a lot of fish that'll kind of move down towards your bait but won't eat it. Then you find the ones that will. So I think they're mixed crappie and the spotted bass and largemouth or stuff on them trash piles.
Are you seeing crappie boats out there? Is that starting to pick up?
Yeah, you start to see them. A lot of, you see a lot of them in and out of those deeper docks. I think they're probably looking for, shooting up underneath them deeper docks with some shade lines on them.
Yeah, and of course, there's going to be stripers starting to go on some of those bait balls and stuff that are up shallow. So people got to be ready for that kind of stuff too. All right, Jordan Lake, what are we seeing there?
Like we talked about, if we can get enough rain for the runoff, that's something to look forward to. Just fresh water will make those fish kind of migrate towards that. Probably nothing crazy, but you get a few good bites on it. Flipping the grass is doing pretty good. And, not to mention if we get a little rain, then maybe they'll turn them generators on a little bit longer and run up that river, get a better bite with an A-rig, a swim bait, stuff like that, and the canals, anywhere there's moving water. And then bait balls, that Alabama rig, we talked about it, a lot of small baits, but usually put like a big swim bait maybe on the centerpiece of that A-rig, something like that to try to trigger a bite.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Do you like going a little bit match the hatch, or do you like to kind of give them a little something to try to trigger a bigger bite?
Well, up there fun fishing, Dano, taking that A-rig, I'll use the smaller baits, but maybe like on the middle one, I'll put like a bigger, 6-inch or something like a paddle tail or something like that on it.
Brother, we appreciate everything as always. Thanks for what you do, and we'll talk to you again next week. Well, that wraps up our Bucks Island area fishing report for Saturday, September the 27th. Thanks to the guys for everything that they do to help us every week stay on top of the patterns and the programs that are putting fish in the boat. Don't forget, folks, we are here at Bucks Island to help you. Whether you're looking for that new boat, we got what you're looking for. We got the parts and service to help you keep running, and we got the tackle, the apparel, and the glasses and everything that you might need to be on the water, enjoying yourselves, catching a few fish, or boating. Thanks for being the best part of Bucks Island, and we will talk to you again next week.